I'm Micki Carroll. I'm here today with Kat Williams. We are Kat and Mouse Astrology. Hi, Kat.
Hi, Micki.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I think I'm stuck in the dream state.
Oh, yeah.
I'm feeling this Neptune a little bit.
Yeah.
So here is our chart. Is our astro-ride, and we're asking you to come along on the ride with us. And it's March 13th today. We're looking at the new moon in Pisces at 23 degrees. And, the Astro Ride report is kind of looking at what the road's like, what the weather report is, and what kind of a trip we might be having. Could be bumpy or rough, could be smooth or easy. I'm interpreting this particular report as raining all over the world. So, and there's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to focus just here on this new moon stellium. So again, we have our new moon at 23 degrees, the sun and the moon together, shining its bright light in Pisces, those fish underwater, also the last sign of the zodiac. And Neptune is here, the ruler of Pisces, the god of the underworld. And of course, we have our beautiful, lovely Venus, who is exalted in Pisces. Now, one thing I'll mention about Venus is that she is on the far side of the sun right now. So she is as far away from Earth as she can get, and she is invisible.
Hmm.
So the gifts that she brings won't be visible to us until Venus is visible again. But she does bring gifts. Now this stellium is is square. We can see it's opposite also, but it is square. That's what these red lines denote. The nodes, the south node in Sagittarius, and the north node with Mars in Gemini. And this stellium in Pisces, this new moon, is also opposite Vesta in Virgo. So this is our new moon, kind of the picture of our new moon. And it's a dreamy, watery new moon. And it has me feeling kind of squishy and mushy too. So what do you think, Kat? What do you?
Oh, uh, Pisces is hit hard. And I did not realize until just now that it's been opposite Vesta. So that explains a lot for me because this Venus, Neptune with the sun and the moon just transiting Neptune in this past week has brought up a lot of past trauma for me. Um, Particularly related to what Vesta is related to. Um,
And talk a little bit about
Sexuality.
that.
Well,
Talk a
Vesta
little bit
is
about
like
that symbology.
sacred sexuality, right? The Vestal Virgins is what it comes from. When the in the time when virgin referred to a woman unto herself, a woman
Right.
not associated with a man. Um, and so Vesta in our charts has to do with our sexuality and our independence. Um, and for it to be opposite the moon and Neptune, and I think Mercury's even over there too,
Yeah, about to
right?
enter. Just about to
Yeah.
enter.
Um, yeah, it's brought up for me a lot of issues, and then it's opposite the nodes, squaring the nodes, right? So it's been bringing up a lot of past remembrances. Um, yeah, I've just been dealing with some trauma in my life.
Yeah, and I'm working on a memoir with my sisters,
Mm-hmm.
so I ditto that. You can't help it, get into old memories and have things come up, bubble to the surface that are sometimes a blast, but sometimes quite, distressing.
Yeah.
But Vesta in Virgo, I find crucially doubly
Powerful.
significant, right? It's in Virgo. Vesta's in
Yeah.
Virgo. So Virgo is, not the symbol of the virgin, but the symbol of the yoke, the whole,
Mm-hmm.
yoga, being one into oneself. As you talked about, the Vestal Virgin, those were women that could not be owned.
Right.
So a wife was the property of her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they weren't, they were spiritual leaders in a sense. They were a place where a man could go, because it was typically sex separated rather than a spectrum of gender back then when we're talking. A man could go and have a spiritual experience of sex.
Mm-hmm.
And that woman was never his property. And it was her choice whether or not this act occurred.
Mm-hmm.
So very different kind of, in an ancient sort of symbology, yeah, the Vestal Virgin, Vesta in Virgo, that's a pretty powerful symbology opposite this particular watery, dreamy new moon.
Right.
That's also, as you say, square. What are we moving towards and what are we letting go of?
Right.
So we have a turning point. We're kind of at a fulcrum where we can go one way or another. We can focus our attention towards the past
Right.
and towards the future. And that kind of, yeah, that kind
There's
of.
another important square in the chart. I don't know if you want to go back to the chart real quick and maybe
Sure.
you can use your mouse to point it out.
Yep.
Okay, you don't have it listed on here, but, well, you have Mars.
I put Mars on, yeah.
Okay. And there's a square between, no, it wasn't a square. It has to do with Chiron in Aries and Saturn in Aquarius.
Yeah, I think we have a semi-square between Mars and Chiron and Saturn going on at the same time.
Exactly.
I didn't want to complicate this by adding that, but I think it's important for that overlay to be talked about.
Right. If we're to talk about the Vesta in Virgo opposite Venus and Neptune and the moon and the sun all in Pisces in square to the north and south nodes, then you add in this relationship between Mars being assertiveness and a masculine energy and Saturn being authority and structure, and they're in this strange relationship with Chiron, the wounded healer.
Right.
So I'm just adding that layer.
Exactly. And that is a really interesting layer to consider. It certainly has to do with our healing journey.
Right.
And part of this, looking to the past, being able to assimilate, to let go of the past so we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Mm-hmm.
And yet be able to focus toward the future without being consumed by our desires for a change, because we have to think of the dragon's head and the dragon's tail a little bit here.
Uh-huh.
Right? The dragon's head is insatiable. It's the head without the body that consumes, 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 and is never full.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also our aspirations and our goals. It's our passions,
Mm-hmm.
especially with Mars right here. So there is a healing towards, there's a healing involvement in how we are moving towards the future.
Right. And it specifically points to the structures and the authorities and the change that will be happening there.
Exactly. Do you want to talk about a few of the Sabian symbols before we dig down into this a little deeper?
Yeah. Well, the moon and the sun are at 23 Pisces, an inhabited island. Take that for all it could possibly be. Venus is at a table set for an evening meal, 19 Pisces. Neptune is at 20 Pisces, a little white lamb, a child, and a servant. Which other ones would you like to hear? Should we talk about Mars?
Yeah, let's see. Mars and the nodes.
Mars is a workman drilling for oil. And the nodes, the north node is two Dutch children talking, and the south node is a groundhog looking for its shadow.
That's fascinating too. Yeah. Are there any of those that really stand out to you?
Well, the groundhog looking for its shadow, it's interesting to have the south node be at a symbol of shadow work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly
but looking to the future at the same time
right.
with the groundhog.
Right. Yeah, that is exactly the feeling of where we are now, is this new moon representing the future, and yet having to look into the past because it's in Pisces. Pisces
Right,
is the culmination, it's the end of the zodiac. It's
right,
there's a finality to the dreaminess before we
right.
move into the awakeness of spring, which is also, we're about to hit the spring equinox.
Uh-huh.
And I can't think it's coincidental that we're now really at a year for the COVID shutdown. People are talking about the anniversary of the COVID shutdown now.
Mm-hmm.
So back in January, when we had the new year, nobody was feeling like we were iced in where we are.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cocooning time.
Mm-hmm.
We were in chrysalis. Is that how you pronounced?
Chrysalis.
Chrysalis.
Yeah.
And now it seems like we might be about ready to climb out of our cocoons and fly, learn, sprout some wings and learn to fly.
Yeah. We're getting there, but we still have this month.
Right.
The new moon marks the last month of the astrological year.
Exactly.
And the Sabian symbols and the energetics of this morning carry through until the next new moon in Aries, which will mark the beginning of the new year.
Exactly.
So yeah,
So
it's a really important time to take the time to look through the past and work through the past and what we want to carry forward with us and what we can let go of. And if we have things we have to carry forward with us, like if we have traumas that just aren't ever really going to go away, it's like scar clan kinds of things. Like we just carry these scars with us. But this new moon provides an opportunity, or it has for me, to value that in a way,
yes.
to find some gratitude for the coping mechanisms and our abilities to survive.
Yes. Yes, I agree. Um, I think we have a lot of opportunity with this new moon.
Yeah.
I'm going to share our screen again and look at some of these interpretations in a little bit more detail. And again, this is just another way of looking at the new moon. So the new moon conjunct the sun. There is our new moon at 23 degrees in Pisces. It is together with Neptune and Venus. And again, there's only a 3-degree orb here, so we consider this a conjunction. And these things are square, the nodes and Mars in a loose square with Mars.
Mm-hmm.
So a general interpretation here would be, get ready for the deep dive. And I think that goes right along with that south node symbol, right, of looking at the shadow. The south node definitely represents the shadow and our past.
Right.
And one question here, I was trying to come up with a question for our readings. Can I turn up the music and allow inspiration?
Oh.
Because we are deep, deep, deep in Pisces. And that means speaking and understanding, especially when Mercury enters, we're going to lose our ability to communicate in the normal way because
Uh-huh.
we're be underwater. And as you say, this is 2 weeks from today, really all the way through. We may see a culmination of this in the full moon in Pisces in September.
Yeah.
Depends on how strongly this is for you in your chart. For me, this triggers a lot of things. So there may be a culmination of this as we actually really move in. We've got our spring beginning with the Aries new moon, but then we also have the culmination of this end beginning that will come in Pisces in September that might show us what that shadow work is bringing to us.
Right. Your reference to inspiration, there's 2 points, 2 other degrees of the Sabian that go along with this. Chiron at 7 Aries is a woman's hat with streamers blown by the east wind.
Ooh.
which is, to me, feels like the east wind bringing inspiration for the newness. You know, the east is the sunrise, it's the inspiration, it's the air sign. And so to have the east wind is like the inspiration will be coming through to move to what's new, to the future.
Right.
And that's what Chiron brings us right now. So that's where our healing can be found.
That's lovely.
That freshness and something beautiful, a hat with streamers. So there's like the hats give you protection in a way, you know. Our scars are where we've survived, and the blowing of streamers, there's something celebratory about a hat with streamers. Jupiter is at
yes.
19 Aquarius, a large white dove bearing a message.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And that's square the black moon.
Now that's an important symbol as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not sure. I'm sorry, go ahead.
An old teacher fails to interest students in traditional knowledge.
That's interesting. And where is it again?
It's in Taurus. 15 Taurus, that's the black moon squaring Jupiter at 19 Aquarius, a large white dove bearing a message.
That's fascinating as well. Yeah. What's the date on that one? Is that as we speak?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we've just got a lot going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come back to our new moon interpretation. Are you able to see these words? Are they big enough?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it could be bigger for me, but
yeah, I was trying to get them a little bit bigger, but I couldn't. It's not getting bigger, so I'm going to leave it be. So I'll read through it anyway, though. So again, we've got our new moon in Pisces. New moon symbolizes a fresh start, a new beginning, or a new phase. The moon, of course, represents our emotions. And this is in the sign of Pisces, which is intuitive, emotional, fluid, also representing the end or the completion or a culmination.
Mm-hmm.
And this, yeah, and this is where you said an inhabited island.
Yes.
So I find that pretty fascinating because, you know, we're all stuck here together.
Isolating.
Yeah, we've had a whole lot of this Aquarian, the people symbology, and we're still in that symbology, as you mentioned, because of Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
So this inhabited island, I find a very helpful interpretation because we are all in this together, and we're all kind of going underwater together.
Mm-hmm.
And this sense of being underwater is going to change our perspective,
Mm-hmm.
as going underwater does.
Yeah.
So especially conjunct the Neptune and Venus, you know, we've got the sun is an illumination. It, you know, shines the light on things. It represents our ego. We've got the moon is our emotion and reflection, reflecting the sun, that shadow step again.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Neptune representing soul, dreams, illusions, as well as imaginations. I've written illusion twice.
Mm-hmm.
Intoxication. You know, Neptune is well placed in Pisces, so I see it as the more positive aspects of Neptune here. Yeah. Especially with it being being conjunct Venus, love and beauty and the desired and what we value. This is a lovely, dreamy. You know, the spotlight is focusing our attention on what's obvious and taking appropriate action so we can see underwater, because it's not going to be real easy to see underwater. Everything is blurred, but there's a dream of beauty going on, and perhaps a feeling of authenticity. And I think for me, the most important interpretation would be sweet emotion.
Mm.
That might be bittersweet as we let go of the past.
Yeah.
So what about, you want to talk a little bit about this symbol, the white lamb?
Oh. Which one is this for? Neptune? Is that Neptune?
Yeah, this is for 20 Pisces.
Okay. Um, Gentleness. I think gentleness
Yeah.
is the takeaway from that. Caring, caregiving, vulnerability.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable so we can gain the sweetness that is inherent in this, even though it might be bittersweet as we let go of something.
Yeah. Tenderness.
Tenderness, for sure.
I'm interpreting the servant as a caregiver to the
Yeah,
child.
yeah, absolutely. And I like the symbology. All of these again are in a servant type position, or in a
Right.
non-power position. Let's put it that way.
Hmm. Even a
But some,
table set for an evening meal, which is where Venus is about nurturance.
exactly, and inviting again the Aquarian people. It's ready for the people to sit at the table and share together.
Yeah, it implies community.
Yeah,
My mind. I mean, I guess you could set a table for one, but to me, it implies in community.
right.
And
It
the
does.
island could be inhabited by one. Where do you want to be?
True. True. Exactly.
Do you want to be on an island by yourself having a meal for one, or
Right. And I think we're also ready to burst out into the open and have meals with people, and
great,
come out of our little islands and join people on the big island.
right? Please.
So a loose interpretation again here of moon opposite Vesta. We've got again our emotions of the new moon, the fresh start, new beginning, a new phase. Vesta, harmony, balance, well-being, and again this concept of the Vestal Virgin, wholeness.
Wholeness,
Um, I'm sorry.
wholeness,
Yeah, wholeness,
sacred sexuality.
sacred sexuality, the sacred female. And in
Mm-hmm.
Virgo, that emphasizes that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a rational, practical, health-related stuff to Virgo, as well as this emphasis on this um, whole healing female or feminine concept. Doesn't have to necessarily be female, could
Mm-hmm.
just the concept of the healing feminine.
Right.
Being in an opposition, there's a tug of war that's possible. Be aware of what's tugging at you. And again, with this squaring the nodes, we may be being tugged between the past and the future. What presents itself in the outer world, of course, reflects our inner world. So we want to be rational about health and practical matters as much as we can underwater. Um, so that's kind of where part of the problem comes in here, unless we can just enter the dream state willingly.
Yeah.
So
And
go ahead.
definitely let it flow. Right?
Right.
Like when we do have these big emotions come through in these transits, don't stifle it, right? Like be watery about it.
Exactly. Exactly. And that lion tamer in the position of Vesta, I found interesting as well, because, um, Vesta is again in Virgo is in a position of power, but it's
Mm-hmm.
being modified by the Venus Neptune. And so there's a sense of more of a sense of control in the power, if you will,
Yeah.
at least a possibility of that. So anything you want to add to this?
No, I'm good at the moment. But I like what you're saying.
Okay, well, I'm going to scroll down a little bit to the next little bit of interpretation here. And that is that we've got, as you pointed out, the Mars square the nodes as well, the moon square Mars and the nodes.
Mm-hmm.
So here we've got energy and passion and the movement of Mars at 5 Gemini. And this here, with the North Node, together with the North Node, moving into a conjunction with the North Node. representing the future, our aspirations. Again, the dragon's head, which is, you know, kind of sometimes can be insatiable. We may be moving towards something that we really want. We want to check our insatiability. We want to make sure we're not grasping too much for this future, especially as we're still stuck one foot in the past. In Gemini, we've got communication and action, you know, represented by Gemini, the twins. Two of everything often is represented in this sign. So again, it's kind of the dual.
Two Dutch children.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Two Dutch children is perfectly emphasizing this Gemini Mars mode. And then we have the South Node in the opposite in Sagittarius, representing the past, karma, the dragon's tail. Now, of course, if you have something at the dragon's tail, that's not a bad thing. That, you know, if you've got something negative like a Mars or Saturn at the dragon's tail, that makes things smaller, reduces things. So there's a reduction at the South Node as well as a going into the past. And the opposite is true for the North Node. You know, we've got Mars at the North Node. In Vedic astrology, that emphasizes the Mars tendencies. And those Mars tendencies, while energy and passion can be good, you know, people who are driven can drive us a little crazy. So, you know, again, that comes back to, you know, trying to be in check for what's going on with the North Node, as it is, it may tend to be excessive.
Yeah.
With that Mars configuration there.
Right.
And these are square, so staying in your lane and watching out for other people would be a good idea. You might need to do some defensive maneuvering. And we all probably are going to need to look to our Pisces issues and resolve some of those Pisces issues, because that's where the sun and moon are shining their light,
right,
in order to move forward, as well as the issues in our in Sagittarius where the South Node is. So I would look at where Pisces and where Sagittarius, what houses they are in your chart, to get a clearer idea of what somebody needs to let go of.
Yeah.
And want to talk a little bit about these Sabian symbols?
Sure. I mean, I like what you're talking about with Mars and being careful about what we're being insatiable about. Because I don't know what workman drilling for oil brings up for you, but for me, it's not necessarily anything good.
Yeah. Well, we can see it as a positive. I mean, the positive, you know, if you,
in terms of like effort and the wealth that comes from beneath, if we want to be like super symbolic about it.
Right, exactly. But we have to go deep to get there, yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of layers to that symbolism. I'd like to focus more on like the two Dutch children talking, to get us to that like table set for an evening meal, you know, like being communicative with people and potentially being playful about it. Just getting back into relating with other people and sharing.
Right. And you know, the interesting symbology of the past in the future and the future in the past is definitely here with the groundhog looking for its shadow. I'm going to scroll back up again because there was some language that was here. The beginning and the end in the beginning. You know, this new moon is definitely representative of the chicken egg concept, right? And I've always found this to be an interesting meditative symbology. You know, you can't have the one without the other.
Right.
And when you're stuck in that place, it is a meditative place to consider how you can move forward with all of this baggage and how you can honor the baggage while still moving forward.
Right. Right.
And not necessarily honor the baggage, but honor the truth and the beauty that is also the past, even the things in the past that we want to let go of,
Right.
created what we are today.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's honor in that.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to this general interpretation here and then kind of come back to our discussion. Um, Finding a middle way, because that's, again, we're sort of stuck here in that grand cross, if you will. Finding the middle way between what is complicated and what is simplified. So here, that dichotomy between Sagittarius, some things that are maybe more complicated, and the simplification of the twins, may be helpful for us to stick with something more simplified and focus on those two Dutch children and sit down to a nice meal together. Letting go of the complicated, preparing for the variety that is the simplified, represented by Gemini. Also, at this new moon, switching to sonar, especially in a few days when Mercury enters Pisces. You know, Mercury is direct, and that's a good thing. But Mercury is going to be diving deep underwater. Austin Coptic says use sonar, and I really like that. You know, when you're underwater, you can't communicate by your, you know, normal means. You gotta go with a different kind of ways of seeing things, and sonar might be a way of looking at it differently. Staying present, allowing the fog to envelope you, maybe entering this dream state willingly. But watch your step, because, you know, when we can't really see around us very well, we might trip. So if you can swim or fly, you know, it's better. And the things that are really emphasized to do right now would be writing poetry, singing, creating, and any kind of creative, inspirational, you know, focusing on that. Libra and Pisces would be a really positive way to go with this energy. Not great energy for accounting or hashing out details or trying to get to the nitty gritty of communication because of the Neptunian Piscean factors.
Right.
But what were you going to say?
Oh, I don't know. I was just looking at where Mercury was.
Yeah, almost ready to enter and go through the fog, intellectually in the fog. Where I think we're going to enter. It's quick there. It's only about 2.5 weeks of intellectual fog. But again, it's probably not the best time to do accounting, which is what I'm going to do today.
We have to get our taxes done.
I know. And I'm fully in the dream state personally. I mean, I'm in total squish mode. And as you said, kind of more focused on the past, having a hard time finding, I myself personally am having a hard time finding the details and looking clearly at anything, because everything does feel kind of mushy and squishy right now.
Yeah.
I just
It
want
was
to take
hitting
a
me
bath.
hard like a week ago as we were coming up on this. And
Right.
now I feel like I'm got a little bit more forward momentum. Not quite so like stuck in the dream, but like starting to kind of swim through it.
Exactly. Moving towards the North Node
Yeah.
in our dream state.
Right. It is a great time to dream about the future.
Yes.
You know, new moons are always for intention setting. So it's an absolutely perfect time to spend some time dreaming up what it is you're headed towards.
Exactly. A beautiful new dream is definitely represented by this new moon with Venus and Neptune.
Yeah, let that east wind blow in, clear away the fog.
Exactly. Yeah. And enjoy the fog as much as you can, because that fog is bringing us the inspiration, which is kind of like, I'm going to come back to our spring analogy. You know, we're here just as the new shoots are coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And that fog, the kind of envelopes that allows us to dream, you know, is this going to be a purple flower? Is this going to be a red rose? Is it going to be a hyacinth? What it kind of allows us, this dream state, to have fertilizer for
Mm.
what we're planting for the future.
Mm. I'm just imagining like what kind of nourishment is carried in the water vapor of fog. Like what kind of minerals are we surrounded by when we're in the fog that is just like a kind of bath?
Yeah. Plants love it when you mist their leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all time to get it's time for us to get our leaves misted
Yeah.
and enjoy this fogginess, and yet let our dreams be of the future as we, at the same time, let go of what we need to let go of, um, with honor and appreciation.
I'm going to bring up Mercury symbol. I don't think I said it
Oh,
yet.
good, good, yes.
Okay. Mercury, I want to say it right because it's one of my favorites. 26 Aquarius, an ancient pottery bowl filled with fresh violets.
Ooh, that's,
I always think of this one as an ancestrally kind of thing. Um,
read it one more time.
an ancient pottery bowl filled with fresh violets.
Mercury, our communications as fresh violets overfilling a bowl,
Right, but an ancient bowl,
an
an ancient
ancient bowl.
ceramic vessel.
That honors the past and the future.
Right.
The ancient bowl and the new blooms.
Mm-hmm.
The blooms coming out of the ancient bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay, that's cool. We like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's very interesting. You know, this is an important time for us individually, collectively, and personally, as well as interpersonally, and secularly, as well as spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
We've just come from a very intense time this whole last year, and everything that everybody went through, that was that Capricornian plutonic, um uh for most people a rather difficult period of time, let's put
Right.
it that
Tearing
way.
up the structures of things. Yeah.
Right, tearing at the structures of things. So this represents a way to both bring in the positive from the past to the future that we're looking towards. So I really like that, using the ancient bowl for the new flowers to grow out of. Again, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Mm-hmm.
We need some of the ancient stuff to help us to move towards the future in a positive way. We just want to get rid of the constraining ancient stuff.
Right. Which is what we have with the Black Moon. An old teacher fails to interest students in traditional knowledge. You know, there's some things from our past that we don't want to take with us,
Yep,
especially in terms of structures.
right. Exactly.
at
It's
least,
time to
at
let
least
go.
for those of us who come from the capitalist, white supremacist, patriarchal cultures. A lot of those traditional things,
Exactly.
we don't need to keep going with.
Yeah, letting go of a lot of those structures will make those violets smell really good.
God, I love the smell of violets.
Me too.
My front yard turns into mostly violets if I pick the leaves up in time.
Oh, yes.
So
Well, I
good.
think maybe we should end on that note of opening the window here and smelling the violets as the over the next couple of weeks, as spring approaches, we're going to have an opportunity to metaphorically and in reality smell the violets and enjoy the ancient pot that they are in.
Set them in the middle of our table, decorated for
Yeah.
an evening meal. Yeah.
Honoring the past and the future.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Definitely.
I love it.
Happy new moon.
Happy new moon. Thank you, Kat.
Thanks, Micki.
Thanks everybody for joining us.